Hi, so I'm Christa Hill, and I am the publishing assistant for Audio Listening Magazine, and I'm really excited to be talking to Renee about friendship and platonic love. So recently, Renee and I went to visit a community garden here in Atlanta where we produce Audio Listening Magazine, and it was really exciting to get invited because at the time I was actually feeling rather lonely and like with nothing really to do. And Renee was like, "Hey, would you like to join me at the community garden and just get a day of activity and do something as friends?" And I was super excited about it. But then she texts like, "Oh, just wear your, muddiest clothes or your rattiest things, like just something that you don't mind if it gets dirty." And I texted back, "What do I do if I don't have anything like that in my closet?" So I ended up wearing just my regular clothes with the conviction that they can always be thrown in the wash, like no problem. So we went out there and we got to digging, and Renee played with some worms.
I was actually I screamed it with happiness when I
Mm.
heard that you're moving to Atlanta after I did, because I know that you were looking at several different grad program options.
And like she came like 3 or 4 months before me, but like a friend already here, especially one that I've already been so constantly in contact with. I had asked Renee before, like over the course of our correspondence, to help me with my MBA program, like application materials. And the stuff that you said was really, really helpful because I've never applied to an MBA program before. And of course, Renee's already gone. And so having some like outside perspective on what I was writing and how to make it more detail oriented and not like so flat was really great. And so that's part of our like correspondence relationship, that I would send her like an essay and Renee would read like, "Oh, some things that you could fix," or like, "Maybe let's jump on a call and I'll like go through some of the details." And so I remember like even thinking about like airport communication. Took a crazy flight like all through and around Canada. Like I went from Washington D.C. to Montreal to Toronto to Vancouver to Edmonton. Then Edmonton, like Edmonton to Vancouver to, where did I go next? I think I went back to Toronto and then to Atlanta to Kentucky. So like it was like a crazy series of flights. And so while I'm sitting in Vancouver, like ready to take like my 2 days of flights, I was like, "Oh, Renee, have you been able to look at my business school materials or whatever?" So once again, like always like texting, still like sending like audio messages, whatever, trying to get stuff done and not make my like life in an airport like a waste of time. So recently I asked her if she would be willing to give me a ride to the grocery store. That way we can keep in our little bubble. And she agreed, and it was awesome.
It was especially awesome because I asked Krista to please be my co-pilot. I'm driving a new to me used car that's it's a big hulking car with 5 seats.
An SUV.
Oh yes, that's what it is, an SUV. And for the 2 years that I lived and worked in Seattle, I had sold my car. I didn't I didn't drive. And I'm
I didn't
just
know
plain rusty. But so I
that.
asked Krista to be my co-pilot. And then when we got to the very crowded Trader Joe's parking lot, I felt intimidated.
Well, Renee was like, "Hey, Krista, would you do me like?" She was like, "Well, you did like. I think I'm gonna park in this like parallel space. It seems big enough because some of the other like spaces that were not so like not needing to parallel park in were kind of small for the big hulking SUV that Renee's still getting used to." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like the space looks totally big enough." And so Renee was like, "Oh well, I'm kind of struggling to park in this spot. Will you like jump out and like make sure that I'm not going to scratch anyone's car or hit anybody passing by?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because I also need that. I have a lot of people spot for me when they're driving in the passenger side. And so Renee is like backing up and she's trying to park. And I'm talking, but the window is rolled up. So she like rolls it down. And Renee was like, "I don't know if I can actually fit here. Like I thought I could, but after trying like 2 times and kind of like turning my wheel this way and that way, I haven't actually been able to fit. Like maybe I'll just give up." And I was like, "No, you shouldn't give up." I was like, "You can totally fit here. And since we've already started, like when we wait for the people to pass, you should be able to get in." And so I was like, "You know what?" Because I very recently, like maybe 3 years ago, paid for like a driving instructor to take me around Los Angeles to get more comfortable with highways. And he was teaching me parallel parking. He was like an incredibly jovial guy. So I was like, I think like his attitude really helped me to learn. So I was like, I'll kind of like embody that and help give Renee some tips. So I was like, well, what I was told to do was like to pull up a bit more and turn your wheel all the way because then you're backed into the space and you can just straighten up from there once you have enough space. So Renee is backing up and she's like, are you sure I'm not going to hit anyone? Are you sure I'm not going to hit you? Are you sure I'm okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you're okay. Like I'm standing out here, I can see everything. And she's like, are you sure? Are you sure? She's like, well, now there's so much space. All I have to do is just like straighten up. And I was like, yay, we win. We finally got this parking space that she wanted.
It's teamwork, and it's such a metaphor. It is an incredible metaphor for having you on this team for Audio Listening Magazine. You lend your expertise, and a lot of what you do for me when I come to you for advice feels exactly like that. You're like,
Hmm.
don't worry, you're in good hands. Don't give up. And I was like, this feels like the parallel park. He's like, I don't know, Krista. I don't want to like, do this wrong or do that wrong. I was like, no, no, you got it. And also, I think it speaks volumes to what you're going to bring when you graduate from your master's program at SCAD. I just sense like your ability to stay cool under pressure,
Mhm.
make use of your time when you're traveling, like that Edmonton, like the 2 day plane trip, just speaks volumes of what you'll do when you're managing artistic talent. Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree because I think it's important like for the talent to feel like they're in safe hands. So like working with you, I think it's important for us to like actually work together and to be able to produce something that's good, that's nice, that contributes something to the world, but also for you not to feel like your whole life is stress because it's just supposed to be fun. So that's what we're working on. Yeah, so I like one of the reasons that I decided to do this degree is because I feel like a lot of times bosses don't have as much like if you're in a creative field, they're usually creative people who end up kind of bouncing back into a business field, but they don't know what it's like to be doing business. They know what it's like to be on the creative side. Or it's business people that don't know what it's like to be on the creative side. And I feel like it's really hard to work with people who are just like kind of segmented one way or the other because you can't be sensitive to the needs of like your creative talent if you've never done it, and you can't be that um, organized and like business savvy if you've never done it. You're kind of learning as you go. So one of the things that I want to do with my master's degree is kind of to marry those two things because I am a creative person and I do like creative work, and a lot of my friends are creative people. But I also have friends who are like business people who are like real like strict minds, and I want to be able to like speak to both of them and to explain like how you can to be a bridge between those two groups, but also to be able to like produce work in a way that's like wholesome and fun for everyone. And one of the things that's important to me is being able to bring more diversity and like representation for my like underrepresented communities. And so I have a real passion for film, and I recently developed more of a passion for a podcast as of last year. I started listening to tons and tons of them. And I just want to be able to see more voices who like they have a lot to contribute and a lot of different stories to put in. And so kind of that's my goal, to be able to manage the talent in a really efficient business like way.
Thanks so much for chatting with me.